This is gonna be a hard one. No funny opening, no gag. This one is rough. Good morning / afternoon / evening / night, fellow Bippheads. Unfairly punished Bippin here. I may or may not have said a naughty word at my mother in the last video.
I'm proud of you, son.
Oh my god, get out of my fucking room! And so, I've been punished for doing so in the harshest way possible.
That's it, young man. You're doing a Freddy Krueger video next.
That's right. I am now forced to cover Dead by Daylight's most boring and downright missed opportunity of a character. This is the Nightmare. A very fitting name for this character. As you can probably tell, it's Freddy Krueger from the movie A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is one of my favorite classics, a wonderfully fun and campy 80s slasher movie that gets super creative with the kills and visuals of being trapped in a nightmare realm with a psychotic pedophile. Oh shit. I can't say that on YouTube, can I? The childly enthused. Overlooking that part of the character, Freddy is a great horror villain with an iconic look and weapon, with extremely goofy one-liners. It's hard not to love him in that context only, not the other stuff. And then we got this steaming pile of shit. Gross. You see, Dead by Daylight couldn't secure the original Nightmare on Elm Street license, and was only able to nab the 2010 remake. And God, I wish they didn't. The remake was horrible. Why even take that and bastardize the character even further? You know, ordinarily I would understand where behavior is coming from if they got the licensing rights to a version of a character that wasn't the original, but ran with it anyways because it seemed to be the only way of getting the character in the game. But this... Okay, I'm never gonna get on with this if I don't stop ranting. Let's just dive into this. Oh god. Ugh, how ironic. This character is putting me to sleep. The Nightmare's power is called Dream Demon, and not only puts the survivors to sleep, but the person playing him as well. The first part of your power is the Dream World. Freddy is constantly in the dream world, as you can tell by this white graphic in the sky. Survivors passively suffer from microsleep, putting them to sleep after a whole minute passes. Once asleep, survivors enter the dream world, making them susceptible to Freddy's dream abilities. I know this sounds cool, but believe me, it isn't. Before I get into what those are, let me explain some things about being awake / asleep. While survivors are still awake, Freddy has a normal tear radius, but is invisible to survivors more than 32 meters away from him. He becomes intermittently visible from 16 to 32 meters away, and fully visible within that 16 meters. Freddy also automatically puts you in the dream world after hitting you with a basic attack. Survivors in the dream world are oblivious, and Freddy's terror radius is instead replaced with a non-directional lullaby, being his trademarked 1-2 Freddy's coming for you shtick. Gross. Survivors are able to wake themselves up from the dream world in a multitude of different ways. They can either fail a skill check, have an awake survivor wake them up with the snap snap clap clap, which takes 3 seconds, but from the second time onwards being woken up it's 6 seconds, or lastly, through interacting with the highlighted alarm clock that spawns in the map. A survivor who wakes themselves up with their alarm clock gains 30 seconds of protection from their microsleep timer before starting it again. In these 30 seconds, the survivor cannot be put into the dream world via basic attack. Now, for the meat of the power, your dream abilities. These all f***ing suck. Quick tangent, how do you put Freddy f***ing Krueger in the game and come up with the lamest shit possible for his dream world abilities? Take a look at any of the films and you'll see what I mean. This shit is laughable. Anyways, Freddy is an odd case where you can actually only have access to one of 2 dream traps at a time. I don't mean at a time as in like during the game, I mean like for one game. You can only have one dream trap for one game. This is done entirely through his add-ons. Your first and default dream trap is a dream snare. You have 5 of these, which baffles me because these things aren't that good at all really. After a short channeling duration, release the power button to place a dream snare on the ground. Survivors who run over these trigger them and cause some spooky screams, slowing them by 15% and lingering for 3 seconds. This also notifies you whenever triggered. Keep in mind that these only work against asleep survivors. The best way to use these is obviously in loops. placing them in middle sections that are farther from the pallet so you can catch up and hopefully get a hit before they throw it down. The second dream trap is your dream pallets, which you can take by equipping one of 3 add-ons. This fully replaces your dream snares, and the fact that one of his iridescent add-ons doesn't allow him to use both is yet another thing I'm adding to my how can you possibly fuck up this character list. Taking your dream pallets gives you 7 of them instead of the measly 5. Still a low number in my opinion. This character sucks so bad. The dream pallets are probably the coolest part about Freddy, not that that's saying much. Basically, whenever you're near a location where a pallet could spawn and no pallet currently occupies that space, you are able to spend a token to place a fake dream pallet at that location. Similarly to the dream snare, the survivor will only be able to see the dream pallet while asleep. If a survivor drops a dream pallet, it explodes into blood and breaks instantly, not being able to stun Freddy whatsoever. The cool part about this is that the smarter survivors can weed out the dream pallets by keeping a close eye on the layout of pallets while awake, remembering which were or weren't there before falling asleep. With both dream snares and pallets, placing one after you run out of tokens removes the first pallet or snare that you've placed, and so on. For the dream pallets, I would recommend just using them anywhere you see fit, but mainly getting survivors to drop god pallets, breaking them, and then replacing them is good in the long run. This means that survivors who are not on comms with each other will run to a place they know is safe, only to be met with their super strong god pallet being a f***ing fake. Lastly, try not to make it too obvious that you're chasing someone towards a dream pallet. Try playing a little safer to fool survivors into thinking that you think it's a real pallet, only for them to be deceived once they finally throw it down. Lastly, there's your dream projection, a dream ability that Freddy will have access to no matter what dream trap he brings. Basically, your power at the bottom will have a little timer, and once full will grant you the ability to channel a dream projection. All this is the ability to teleport to generators. They must be incomplete to teleport to them, and you must aim your camera towards it to start teleporting. After channeling for 3 seconds with the secondary ability button, you will appear in front of the generator and your teleport will go on cooldown for 45 seconds. During the time you charge your teleport, blood will spew from the generator and a bloody Freddy husk will materialize before you take its place. You can cancel your teleport by letting go of the power, which is only really useful for getting survivors to shit their pants when working on the generator, thinking you're going to teleport. Your teleport also gets a 15% stackable decrease to your cooldown for each survivor in the dream world, maxing out at 60%. Only thing to really note about this teleport is that you can sometimes use it if a survivor is running towards a generator to catch up to them and close the distance, or to catch them off guard. This only really works if the survivor isn't that smart, or isn't watching you charge your teleport by looking behind them. And that's Freddy's power. Very, very fucking disappointing, man. They had the freedom of the dream world, a place where Freddy should be able to have access to all sorts of clever tactics, and they gave him a measly speed trap, fake pallets, and a teleport. Super underwhelming. Anybody who has ever played this game knows that Freddy is just a mess of a character, but to those who aren't aware, he was somehow even worse before. Yep, you know what this means. Freddy released with one of the most god-awful and baffling choices of a power. Yes, Freddy Krueger himself didn't even have dream abilities before this. On release, Freddy had one power: to put survivors in the f***ing dream world. That's it. And the most hilarious part was, he couldn't even injure them unless they were in the dream world. Are you kidding me? Basically, he worked like this. All survivors start awake and do not passively fall asleep. Freddy starts in the dream world and is completely invisible to awake survivors. No terror radius, only a faint lullaby when he was close. Then, he had to use his power to mark a survivor to cause them to start falling asleep. This caused them to slowly fall asleep for 7 seconds, intermittently seeing glimpses of Freddy. Yet he was still unable to touch them until they were fully entered into the dream world. Finally, when they entered the dream world, they were susceptible to Freddy's basic attacks. The only downside to being in the dream world at that point were 3 things. 1 was obviously that Freddy could now attack you. 2 was that you suffered from a 50% penalty towards all action speeds while asleep. 3 was that if you exited Freddy's terror radius while still in the dream world, he would see your aura as long as you remained that far away. This was incredibly frustrating to play as a killer, since survivors could wake themselves up in the same ways as before, finding an awake survivor to wake them up with a short snap, snap, clap, clap, or failing a skill check. They were also woken up when hooked, meaning you were virtually powerless against hook-saving survivors. You could even be running up to someone working on a generator while they spam the skill check button to fail one right in front of your face, meaning when you swung, you would miss and have to wait 7 seconds before they would transition into the dream world again. Most of the time you would find a survivor, you would catch them off guard with your complete invisibility, but for the 7 seconds they were falling asleep, they would just run to a pallet and wait to throw it down at the last minute. Holy fuck. I remember playing Freddy when he came out, and it was just the most aggravating shit in the world. It's baffling to me how this went through. Anyways, even after the update to his power later down the line, he still fell into obscurity. He was an off-brand Freddy from a horrible remake that had a killer power that actually made the game harder for himself. Let's at least see if his perks make up for it. Oh god. Oh, let's get through this before I get my to bed. Anybody hear that strange laughter whenever I swear? Or is that just me? Freddy comes with his 3 personal perks: Remember Me, Fire Up, and Blood Warden. Thankfully for everyone, these were actually a decent set of perks that were probably the only reason to buy this DLC. Remember Me is quite useful and quite good, being an endgame perk with a pretty easy to activate effect. Remember Me gains a token whenever the obsession loses a health state by any means, up to a maximum of 4 tokens. For each token gained, the exit gates take longer to open by an added 6 seconds, meaning all 4 tokens will add a whopping 24 seconds to opening the exit gate. If the obsession is still alive and is the one opening the exit gate, they don't suffer from this added time. By default, the exit gates take 20 seconds to open, so a total of 44 seconds to open them gives you a good chunk of time to interrupt or secure some more kills. Injuring the obsession 4 times during the match isn't that hard of a task, and if you manage to kill them before the exit gates are powered, then you have nothing standing in your way from reaping the full benefits of this perk. It's a great perk, pretty much an essential when running any endgame build. Up next is Fire Up, and this is an okay perk. Every time a generator is completed, Fire Up gains a token to a maximum of 5. For each token, you gain a stackable 4% action speed bonus to breaking walls and pallets, damaging generators, vaulting windows, and picking up and dropping survivors. If all 5 stacks are gained, this perk gives you a maximum of 20% speed to those actions. Again, this perk is just okay. It's, again, great for endgame builds since it's easy to get tokens just by losing generators, but the effect isn't all too game-changing in my opinion. Pretty middle of the road, but it is fun to take with vault speed builds as the game progresses. It's also cool to be the only way of speeding up the animation for picking up and dropping survivors in the game, which can rarely help in pallet or flashlight save situations. Lastly, there's Blood Warden, the coolest and most fun perk of the bunch if you can get it to work. Blood Warden only activates once an exit gate has been opened, starting the endgame collapse. For this time, survivors who enter the exit gate area have their auras revealed to you. The main event happens if you manage to hook a survivor when an exit gate is open, causing a one-time occurrence where for the next minute after hooking the survivor, the exits become blocked by the entity. There's a lot to love and hate about this perk, which is why it isn't used so often. For one, the blocking of the exit gates can be some of the most satisfying and evil kills you can get, especially when survivors get cocky and teabag you, or just think that they can make it all out at once, only for you to start slashing as they scramble away. On the other hand, a typical game will only have survivors 99 the gates until they're sure everyone is on their way out, meaning that a whole lot of the time you won't be activating this perk, especially if the survivors are in a Survive with Friends group. I think it's a really fun and cool idea, but just doesn't work most of the time. When it does though, mwah, it's fantastic. So those are Freddy's perks. All endgame reliant, but overall the toilet paper to the shitty butt that is this killer. That better be lore time. I don't know how much more of this I can stay awake for. It's lore time, baby. Lore fact number 1. This killer fucking sucks. Lore fact number 2. Robert Englund is the original Freddy Krueger, making him a goofy, sick little freak with plenty of one-liners and personality, whereas this Freddy from the remake was played by Jackie Earle Haley, and looks like a f***ing burnt fish. They also leaned heavily into the whole childly enthused bit for him in the movie, making this a very uncomfortable adaptation to bring into Dead by Daylight. Lore fact number 3. If you think I'm exaggerating with that last bit, one of Freddy's iridescent add-ons is the black box, which in the film has certain, well, photographs in it. I'm pretty sure you can imagine what those photographs are, but I highly advise you to not imagine them for obvious reasons. Lore fact number 4. This version of Freddy has black and red stripes instead of green and red stripes. These lore facts have really been out of spite so far, haven't they? Lore fact number 5. Freddy has no skins except for his prestige. Loser. Okay, I'll try and be nice. Lore fact number 6. Freddy came with the map Badham Preschool, one of the most atrocious and shitty maps to this very day. I'm sorry, what is there to say other than negatives? Lore fact number 7. The survivor who came with Freddy, Quentin Smith, was a character made just for the remake and isn't even the main protagonist in the movie. Freddy is specifically obsessed with Nancy, but we don't get Nancy, do we? What the fuck? That's like bringing in Michael Myers with Annie instead of Laurie. I don't care if people like him in the game. I don't care if he still plays a crucial role in the movie. Just why? Lore fact number 8. This is what Quentin used to look like. Lore fact number 9. The story of Freddy goes as follows. Freddy is childly enthused. Townspeople find out, and he apparently isn't arrested for some reason I forget, and chase him into a boiler room where they burn the place and him. He dies, but then lives on in the dreams of the children of the parents who killed him. Simple as that. Lore fact number 10. Freddy was pulled into the entity's realm while he was about to kill Quentin in a dream. That's pretty much it. Lore fact number 11. This dude's short as fuck. And there you have it, Freddy Krueger. Not my Freddy though. I'm going to straight up give this guy a generous 2 out of 10. Playing as him is boring, and he's not strong whatsoever. You tend to get absolutely fucked up by any decent survivors. He doesn't have any voice lines or cool custom chase music. He's a creep and a bastardization of an iconic horror villain. He has had a history of being a horrible killer. His map is atrocious, the survivor is questionable, and the Mori is quite boring and uninspired. The only 2 points I'm giving him is for the perks, and for the general purpose of telling people that Freddy Krueger is in the game. There are some cool visuals with this chapter, but that's where it ends. I can only dream, get it, of what having the original Freddy would look like in this game. So sit with me for a second and picture this. Robert Englund's likeness, skins from the other movies possibly, one-liners as voice lines in game, actual cool dream abilities that are visually pleasing and creative, and a chase theme straight from the 80s movie itself. Look up the track called Dream Attack from the original movie. I'm not gonna play it here for YouTube reasons, but imagine that as his chase theme while he spouts his campy little voice lines. It would be fantastic. So yeah, that's that. I hope that covers it, and my punishment is fulfilled, and I hope that you enjoyed hearing me shit on this killer for... Good lord, 18.5 minutes? Jeez, I really had a lot to say. Thank you for watching this entry in the 101 series. And I'm going to bed. Good night. What? Freddy? What are you doing here? Oh, I don't care. I stand by everything I said. Oh God. I regret nothing. Ha 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 ha.